recognizing that some of what we're talking about here is enforcement, but also just how do we find the workers with the skill sets necessary to be doing the jobs that we're talking about. And I would ask in an open-ended question here what the unions are doing to respond to the challenges of workforce shortages like we're having here. Are there specific federal programs? And then I'm going to use my time to move to a second question. And this is just to note, we've got good, strong representation in the state from AFL-CIO, from Teamsters, and I have always said we've got a role for union, we've got a role for non-union workforce across our state. Workers should have the right to choose if they want to join a union. Alaska is not a right-to-work state, but I would note that the PRO Act, which you all have mentioned frequently, would provide federal preemption for the 28 states with these laws. How do we reframe this discussion so that it's not an us versus them dynamic between union and non-union? That's a truly open-ended statement or question there. And I'm not going to pick anybody to start, but I've given you two important things, I think, and you have a minute, 20 seconds.
Well, I'll take a stab at it. Liz Shuler, AFL-CIO, and you're right. I, too, wish it didn't have to be so acrimonious, and it doesn't have to be. You think back to the National Labor Relations Act when it was passed in the 30s and the conditions. There were wildcat strikes. There were workers up in arms. Business actually wanted the National Labor Relations Act. They wanted unions back in the 30s to sort of calm things down, to provide predictability and certainty in a process where we could talk to each other and work things out. Fast forward to today, things are very much out of whack. And in terms of your first question, I would say we too are very interested in figuring out how all of this, all these new jobs that are going to be coming in the clean energy economy and in chips and science and manufacturing can be good, high-wage jobs with dignity and respect. And we are used to dealing with this, right? In the labor movement, we've been training workers for over 100 years in partnership with our employers to provide predictability and certainty and a talent pipeline. No pun intended with Alaska. But it's essentially the labor movement can be the bridge and the center of gravity for making sure we have that workforce that we need to tackle the projects of the future.
And Senator Murkowski, we are working with you in trying to transform home care jobs all throughout the state of Alaska. These are poverty wage jobs done primarily by women of color in every zip code in Alaska. And joining together in unions have allowed those jobs to become living wage jobs at an $18 an hour wage with health care and the beginning of a retirement for the first time just across in Washington state. And so that's a very concrete way, I think, that we can come together as working people and government together with employers to raise wages and create good jobs all across the economy.
Thank you. Senator